Emma and David had always dreamed of starting a boutique hotel, and when they found the perfect location, an abandoned psychiatric hospital on the outskirts of town, they saw it as the opportunity of a lifetime. The hospital, once known as Ravensbrook Asylum, had been closed for decades, but its grand architecture and sprawling grounds were full of potential. The couple eagerly set to work, envisioning a luxurious and serene getaway for their future guests. The renovation was extensive. They restored the building's old charm, cleaned up the overgrown gardens, and replaced the creaky floors and stained walls. As the weeks passed, the hospital began to take on a new life, its haunting past slowly fading behind layers of fresh paint and modern furnishings. The couple was optimistic and excited, ready to open their doors to the first guests. The grand opening night arrived, and their first guest, a lone businessman named Richard, checked in. He was an enigmatic figure, somewhat reserved but polite. Emma and David were thrilled, hoping that the positive reviews would kickstart their new venture. As night fell, the atmosphere in the hotel changed. The once bustling hallways grew eerily silent, and the temperature seemed to drop inexplicably. Emma, busy with last-minute preparations, dismissed it as the result of the old building's quirks. David, too, was preoccupied with ensuring everything was perfect. Around midnight, Emma received a call from Richard. He claimed to be feeling unwell and requested room service. Emma and David, eager to provide the best service, quickly prepared a tray with tea and snacks and headed to Richard's room. When they knocked, there was no response. They let themselves in with a spare key. Richard's room was dimly lit and strangely cold. The businessman was nowhere to be seen, but the room was meticulously clean. Emma placed the tray on a small table and noticed an old, dusty chair in the corner. It looked out of place amidst the modern decor. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind them, and the room's light flickered before going out completely. Panic set in as Emma and David fumbled for their phones, only to find that there was no signal. A chilling breeze swept through the room, and an unsettling whisper filled the air. A hidden panel in the wall slid open, revealing a dark, narrow passage. Emma and David exchanged worried glances, but decided to investigate. They followed the passage, which twisted and turned, leading them deeper into the bowels of the hospital. The passage opened into an old maintenance room, filled with rusty tools and forgotten machinery. As they moved through it, they noticed something horrifying: scratched and scrawled messages on the walls, remnants of the hospital's grim history. The whispers grew louder, and shadowy figures seemed to dart around the corners of their vision. Suddenly, the floor gave way beneath them, and they fell into a large, dimly lit chamber. The room was lined with old hospital beds, their sheets stained and tattered. In the center of the room stood Richard, but he was no longer the composed businessman they had met. His eyes were wide with terror, and he was chained to one of the beds. Richard's voice trembled as he spoke. "You shouldn't have come here. This place, it's alive. It feeds on fear." Before they could react, the walls of the chamber began to shift, revealing more twisted corridors and hidden rooms. The once familiar building had turned into a nightmarish labyrinth, and the couple was trapped inside. Desperate to escape, Emma and David searched for a way out, but every door they opened led them deeper into the asylum's nightmarish depths. The whispers grew more intense, and the shadows seemed to close in on them. They found remnants of old psychiatric equipment, and the faint echoes of anguished cries filled the air. Just when they thought they couldn't endure any more, they stumbled upon a hidden control room. Inside, they found an old journal detailing the asylum's dark history, a place where patients were subjected to inhumane treatments and experiments. The journal revealed that the hospital's spirit was tied to the suffering it had inflicted, and it would continue to torment anyone who entered. With renewed determination, Emma and David fought their way through the labyrinth, following the journal's instructions for appeasing the restless spirits. They discovered that the key to escaping was to confront the asylum's dark past and find a way to give it closure. Finally, they reached the main entrance of the asylum, now eerily quiet. The shadows seemed to recede and the temperature returned to normal. Exhausted and traumatized, Emma and David fled the building, leaving behind the horrors of Ravensbrook Asylum. As they looked back at the looming structure, they saw it for what it truly was, a monument to suffering and darkness. The hotel venture was abandoned, and the asylum was sealed once more, left to its own devices. Emma and David knew they had narrowly escaped a fate worse than they could have imagined. Ravensbrook Asylum remained a haunting memory, its dark past a warning to those who might be tempted to disturb its restless spirits. Emma and David went on to rebuild their lives, forever marked by their encounter with the Forgotten Asylum and the ghosts that still whispered within its walls.